More, and welcome to the final FrankieSense and More 2018. It's not the final forever, it's just the final 2018. And we will be back, for sure, we're going to be back in January 2019. And with me today is Brent Marchant. You all know him. He's the Good Radio Network's movie correspondent. And we have a wonderful show for you today. We're going to be taking you to the movies. So as a family, or as an individual, you're bored over the holidays, kids are crying, dad wants to know, what can we do, what can we do? Well, we have some fantastic movies that you all can go and see, and they've been vetted, and we tell you they're fantastic. So tune in and check them out, and we'll start off with, well, let me say hi to Brent. Brent, welcome.
Well, hello, Frankie. How are you?
Good. Maybe in 2019, Brent actually might be a face, too. We'll see. Santa might be good to him. But we're going to...
I'll have to get plastic surgery first, probably. No. But, you know, we'll work it out.
I don't think so. But we got some fantastic movies that we're going to talk about today. I haven't seen all of them, but I wanted to. And I know that you've seen some of those. So let's start there. And
actually, there's quite a few that I haven't seen this month too. So this show is going to be a little different. The fact that we're going to be getting a combination of reviews and previews, because there's going to be a lot opening up over the holidays that unfortunately I have not had a chance to see myself yet. But I'm going to be passing along the information about the titles so that listeners and viewers can check them out and see what they want to see.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen, and if I can find it. Where are you? There you are. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to check out the first movie. Are you going to start with the Green Book?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, the first 5 movies, first 5 or 6 movies I'm seeing, we're going to be talking about are movies that I have seen, so I can comment on them, authoritatively. But the first one we have is the movie Green Book, which is an absolutely terrific, fact-based road trip buddy movie starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. It's set in 1962 and tells the story of an out-of-work Italian-American bouncer who is needing to sort of fill the gap in his finances so he can get his a layoff from his job complete. And he gets hired to be a driver for an African-American pianist who's going on a tour of the American South. So you can imagine that particular combination in itself is potentially volatile on multiple levels.
Yep.
So it's unclear exactly how this relationship and this trip are going to turn out. But over the course of the trip, you end up seeing a tremendous friendship and bond develop between the two of them, where each of them helps the other out with areas in their lives where they have, I guess you could say, deficiencies or lack of knowledge. And also, given the fact that they're traveling through this part of the country, which is still segregated at that point, you see them each having each other's back.
It's an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener, for anybody who didn't know that there was a Green Book. The Green Book was actually, it's an actual book that shows where African Americans were allowed to stay, hotels, restaurants, where they could eat through the South. I mean, it's actually despicable.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is. But it was, for people who were living through that, it was actually kind of an indispensable guide to be able to go out and do things without, getting their head bashed in or getting arrested or things like that.
This is one of my favorite movies, really. This is going to be one of my top movies, I think. I really loved it.
Because this movie sort of snuck in very quietly. It did not get a lot of advanced publicity, but it was playing at some film festivals and things like that and was getting a very strong response. And then when awards season started a couple of weeks ago, it just kind of exploded in terms of the honors and the recognition it's been getting. It ended up winning the National Board of Review Award for Best Movie of the Year. That's pretty heavy-duty stuff.
It really is, and it is a fantastic movie. I mean, Mahershala, he won last year, didn't he? Or the year before?
He won the Oscar back in 2016.
Yeah,
for Moonlight.
for Moonlight. And then Vito, he chooses oddball, amazing roles. Like he's really, really crafty, I think, when he's reading a script and knows exactly what's really great for him. And the last one that he did when he was the father of those kids and they all went to the mountains.
Yeah, Captain Fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great movie. He's like one of my favorite actors. So I just adore him.
He's like a chameleon too, in the fact that he'll slip into character in a role and he kind of disappears into it.
Yeah,
so
he was a great Italian bouncer in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at his film repertoire, I mean, he was in the Lord of the Rings movies too.
Yeah.
When you look at his repertoire, you compare all these different roles that he's had. You'll oftentimes
Appaloosa.
That's the same actor.
Yeah, I love him.
But he's terrific in this, and
yeah, do yourself a favor, go see this movie.
He also won the Best Actor award from the National Board of Review. So I mean, that's pretty strong stuff. The movie's been nominated for a bunch of Golden Globes, a bunch of Critics' Choice Awards, a bunch of Screen Actors Guild Awards. I mean, it's just, it's really it's really getting its due, and that's good to see because this is such a terrific movie on so many levels.
On so many levels, exactly. There's a message everywhere.
Yeah, the thing that I found when I was watching is it reminded me a lot of like this year's equivalent of, say, Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out why it did. And then, sort of an obvious connection came up when I was watching the credits roll. And I saw that one of the executive producers on this film was Octavia Spencer.
Oh.
Who was also in Hidden Figures, as was Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
So there definitely is that kind of continuity connecting those two films, and certainly has a lot of those same kinds of qualities in common. So
I love her too. She's
so basically, I'm telling people that if you liked Hidden Figures, you'll absolutely love this one.
Yeah,
it's just as good.
It really is. Yeah, and yeah, on so many levels. Go and watch it. Do yourself a favor. We won't talk about it anymore because I don't want to give anything away. This next one you're going to talk about, I haven't seen it. I saw the previews of it. I really, really want to go see it because I have a feeling that Willem Dafoe is amazing in it.
He really is. This movie is At Eternity's Gate, which is I guess you'd call it more of a character study than a biography of painter Vincent van Gogh, particularly in the last couple of years of his life when he was really going through some of his greatest trials and tribulations personally, in terms of his understanding of his art, his understanding of himself, and his desire to create a new style of painting. Willem Dafoe plays a lead role, and he is absolutely phenomenal. It's even amazing when you see pictures of Van Gogh side by side with Dafoe. I mean, they look like the reincarnation of the painter.
Crazy, huh? And he's another chameleon actor in a way because I always kind of think of him as this hard-edged kind of army guy, or and then like last year when he was in that little movie.
The Florida Project.
Yeah, the Florida Project, and offbeat for him. And here he is as Van Gogh, and he does a fantastic. I mean, from the previews that I saw, he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he really does. Now, this movie it's a little bit different in the fact that it was directed by Julian Schnabel, who is himself an artist, and he brings a very artistic style to the way this story unfolds. It's more, I would say, like a collection of vignettes from Van Gogh's life than like a straightforward chronological biography. Well, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, sort of format. So you might find that it's a little more stylistic than maybe narrative based for a lot of people. So it won't necessarily be everybody's cup of tea. I will say that right up front. But if you appreciate a film where you have a director who's attempting to do some very different things with the way he's telling his story, and he has an absolutely phenomenal protagonist at the center of it to do so, then this is a movie I think that you'll really enjoy. Now, there were a few things that I had some issues with. It's the director gets a little artistically self-indulgent, I think, at times, and some of the editing in a few spots is a little bit on the choppy side. But you know, if you look past those things and you study the performances and the cinematography and just the
Yeah, the
sheer
cinematography was amazing.
and just the sheer celebration of Van Gogh's paintings also.
Hmm.
This is something I think that you'll really enjoy.
I love Van Gogh. I did. I
Yeah.
once did Starry Night on a cake with icing, and it looked really good. Actually, I wouldn't put it on canvas, but I did put it on a cake. I just want to take a moment to tell everybody, if you're watching this, please right below, there's some buttons. There's a like button and a happy face, and do that wow, you know, that big wow face. If you click that, that really helps our videos go out far and wide, and we'd really appreciate that. And something that I have forgotten to do in the last 10 years, I can't believe I did it, is please go to iTunes and like the podcast, like it, and give it 5 stars, because you know you love me and you love Brent, and just give us 5 stars. And if you can, I would really appreciate it if you have that little podcast icon on your Apple phone or on your iPad, or just go to iTunes. You can go into podcasts, and if you click on Mission Unstoppable and FrankieSense and More, just scroll to the bottom, and then there's a place where you can just review and just click. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. It will help us coming back in 2019, and I really, really appreciate all of your support for all these 10 years, which is pretty phenomenal. Okay, Brent, I'm going to go back and share the screen again because I stopped. And let's see. I wanted folks to see. Okay, let's move on. This is a really interesting role,
yes,
I think, for Hugh Jackman.
Yes, this film is The Front Runner, which tells the failed presidential campaign of Gary Hart in 1988, when he became caught up with the Donna Rice affair. It basically tries to do several things. In addition to telling the story of Gary Hart's campaign, which only lasted 3 weeks, despite having been seen as the Democratic Party savior in 1988. It also tries to address some bigger issues, specifically that came out of that campaign, such as how it led to essentially the tabloidization of the American press, and how it led to the changes in privacy being, less of a commodity than it used to be prior to that point. It also examines the utter degradation of the political system in many ways, where suddenly people were being held accountable for everything imaginable under the sun, regardless of what their policies or ruling abilities might be. So it's got a pretty full plate of ideas and topics that it's attempting to cover. Now, the one problem I have with that is, unfortunately, not all of that completely meshes as well together as it could.
Okay.
But I have to I definitely have to give the film credit for taking on these subjects at the very least. Trying to show that, hey, these are problems we've got even now, and this is where it began. This is how it got its start.
Love the cast. Let's go to the cast for a moment, because I absolutely adore everybody in this movie. J.K. Simmons, love him. Vera Farmiga, love her. Like, she's one of my favorite actresses. And if this had happened today and not 1999, it wouldn't be an issue. No. Obviously. Look at our president. Look at your president.
No, I mean, actually, the things.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, the things that Hart was accused of back in those days today would be considered nothing, fairly tame by today's standards.
Yeah. He didn't get an intern. He didn't.
Yeah, I mean, but it does feature really good performances. Jackman is terrific. Vera Farmiga as his wife also, I think, is a very underrated performance, because she's she plays a character who has been the prototypical loyal wife all these years, and is just utterly devastated by what's happened here, and she does it really well. So this is not a great film, but it's certainly better than I think some of the critics have been calling it. And I think it's an important picture from the standpoint of it's trying to sort of slap us on the side of the head and say, pay attention to these things, because they're ruining the political system, they're ruining the media establishment, and if you want to see where they got their start, this is where it came from.
And Hugh Jackman, he's such a triple threat. I mean, he's so good in absolutely everything he does. I love him. I really do. So there we go. We're gonna go. This is okay. Now this next movie, I'm not sure if I get it, but let's talk about this movie.
This is
favorite. The favorite.
This is a
weird movie.
Really kind of out there in a lot of ways. It's a historical dark comedy that tells the story of England's Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman, and the two women who are sort of vying for her attention, affection, to
slice of fame.
Yeah, I mean, to become who's going to become the favorite of these two in this rivalry that's formed. The two women who are played by Rachel Weisz. She plays a woman named Lady Sarah, who's sort of like been a longtime companion and lady in waiting. And Emma Stone, who plays a character named Abigail, who is a distant relative of Rachel Weisz's character, who has had her aristocratic standing stripped of her, and she's trying to seek it back by kind of currying favor with the royal household by getting a position in the palace and gradually trying to move up the ladder of her standing once again. And it's just hysterical with the situations and the lines that all these people start throwing around at one another. In many ways, it's an extremely dark comedy, and it shows characters at some of their cattiest moments in dealing with one another. I mean, in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like I was watching an 18th century version of the TV show Dynasty.
Yeah.
But it's a very funny picture. If you're someone who is easily offended by anything the least bit bawdy or risque, then this is definitely not for you. But if you like dark humor and if you like things that are definitely got an edge to it, yeah, this is really good material for that kind of stuff.
That's funny. Emma Stone, I mean, I thought she did a great job when she was in The Scarlet A, and Rachel Weisz, of course, she's in all kinds of dark movies. She's used to this genre.
Well, all three of the protagonists in this movie are just absolutely outstanding. They have a tremendous chemistry with one another, and they're all really at the top of their game. I mean, we know that Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone can deliver the goods because they've already both won Oscars. But I'm really happy that this is such a good vehicle also for Olivia Colman, because she's been someone who's been sort of slogging away in journeyman roles for a lot of years and not really getting the kind of recognition or attention that she deserves. And in this case, she's been given a role where she could, run with it, and she absolutely does. I mean, as the tempestuous and capricious Queen Anne, she is just outstanding.
That's hilarious.
This is a movie that is racking up the awards points in virtually every competition out there, particularly where it comes to the three protagonists are concerned. They're all getting tons of nominations for different kinds of awards. So this is really heady stuff in terms of the laugh department. It's the one problem I did have with it is that the director, his name is Yorgos Lanthimos. He's a Greek director who lives in England. He in his pictures, he sometimes gets a little needlessly ambiguous with some of his material, and you do see a little bit of that toward the end of this picture. So that was the one thing I was not terribly crazy about. But beyond that, he's done a great job with this one. Terrific period piece, settings and costumes and all that sort of thing, plus the great acting, and it's terrific.
Okay, well, there's a good one to go and watch on a rainy afternoon. This next one is Maria by Callas. Of course, Maria Callas, the opera singer, star.
Yeah, this
Diva.
one isn't. Yeah, this one's playing in kind of limited run at this point. I'm sure it'll end up going to DVD and so forth at some point. It's a documentary about the opera singer Maria Callas, and it's they call it Maria by Callas because it's material completely taken from her own interviews and her own journals and unpublished letters and so forth. And you do have some commentary included from people who knew her, but they were also taken from historic interviews and so forth. So it's not like you're getting a documentary with a lot of talking heads in the present, doing analysis or revisionist history or anything like that. This is all rooted in material that came out during the time of her life, either by herself or those who knew her. It's loaded. If you're an opera fan, I mean, you'll absolutely love it because there's tons of performance segments in the film. Really shows what a tremendous talent she was. And there's also a rather pointed discussion of her her relationship with Aristotle Onassis, and particularly when he sort of dumped her to marry Jackie Onassis or Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
So you get some insight into what she was going through personally with that. But then that's really one of the things that's very characteristic of this film in general is you see somebody who very clearly has developed sort of a dualistic view of herself. I mean, she refers to herself in her personal life as Maria, and then she refers to herself in her professional life as Callas.
Oh, interesting.
So it's almost as if she's saying, well, when Callas takes the stage, Maria disappears and this other persona comes out.
Probably could be that too. You never know, right? A lot of people are like that.
And then when she's done singing, she goes off stage and she becomes Maria again. So it's a very
whoever she was, she's extremely talented and very beautiful.
Yeah.
And
like I say, the operatic segments are, they're phenomenal. I mean,
I'm sure.
You really see what a tremendous talent that she was.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm going to start sharing again. I just stopped for a moment there.
Okay, so now we're going to be coming to
one that you don't really like.
One that I don't recommend.
Winner of the best film.
Yeah, I don't really do negative reviews on here very often, but every so often there'll be a movie that comes along that gets a lot of attention and a lot of buzz, and everybody says, "Oh, you have to go see it. You have to go see it," and I'll come along and say, "No, you don't."
And that's important, you know what? Because it's not cheap to go to the movies, especially with a family. My God, I mean, it can cost you $150 or something to take your family to a movie theater. So even if it's just the two of you for New Year's Eve or Christmas Day, if you're bored, it's it's good to know what maybe you shouldn't go and see.
Well, the movie in question here is the film Roma, and Roma is a movie that has also been getting a lot of buzz. And I think a lot of it is pretty overblown.
Sorry.
Roma is the latest offering from director Alfonso Cuarón, who was best known for making the movies Gravity and Children of Men.
Okay.
And it's essentially a memoir of his days of growing up in Mexico City in the 70s. In an upper middle class neighborhood called Roma. Has nothing to do with Italy, at least not directly. So it's shot in black and white, and at least from an artistic standpoint,
I've always liked that.
I can't take anything away from it in terms of its artistry. It's absolutely stunning to look at. But that's about it. I mean, there's very little backstory in terms of telling you who these characters are, why they matter, why you should be concerned about them.
Just a bunch of kids who play together, or
it's the kids and it's the household with the parents and the house. There's a housekeeper who's like really the central character in this movie.
Oh, okay. So non-stereotypical Mexican family.
No.
That people think about.
Yeah.
when they think of it. She's usually the housekeeper. No, this
Exactly.
Mexican
Yeah.
family has a housekeeper. Where's she from?
Well, actually, she's like a native mixed blood Mexican.
Okay. So she's like an
Whereas the
Indian. Like,
family they're European based
oh, okay.
Mexicans.
That's kind of funny.
So you do have kind of a little bit of a clash of cultures there. And it's also set at a time when Mexico was going through quite a few political changes, none of which, unfortunately, are really very adequately explained. So you're sort of left kind of trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I mean, that's one of the things I really have a problem with this film is it sort of leaves you with a lot of gaps that you have to fill in your own knowledge. And I mean, I don't feel like somebody should have to read up, before going to a film to be able to understand what's going on.
This is true.
Yeah. So this is one that it's been picking up a number of award nominations just because there's been a number of critics who are big fans, and they're in its corner. But personally, I think it's really overrated. It's nice to look at, but that's about it. Everything else is just kind of, comes up short.
Yeah.
From my standpoint.
All right.
Okay.
Enough time on that one then.
So now we're going to be getting into the previews, and I'm going to be going through these real fast because there's quite a few of them.
Yeah.
These are films that I have not seen yet, but they're movies that are on the radar and they're getting ready to come out over the course of the next couple of weeks. Interestingly enough, from the way the awards nominations have come out so far, most of the films that have been picking up the lion's share of nominations have already been released, which is a little bit different from previous years. A lot of times the distributors and the studios wait until the very last minute to try and keep their films as fresh as possible in the minds of their voters.
Yep.
You haven't seen that this year. So among the films that we're going to talk about, the first three are still yet to be released and have picked up quite a bit of awards buzz and nominations so far. But a lot of the rest of them are kind of, only getting minor buzz, maybe not as much as what was originally anticipated that they were going to get. So I'll put that qualifier on the films up front generally before we start. So the first one that is coming out, this is getting a lot of attention, is the movie Vice. It's the latest film from director Adam McKay, who made a big splash a few years ago with The Big Short. Vice is the story of Dick Cheney and his years as president, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Even though he was only vice president.
Yeah. The deal he made with Bush.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
played by Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Really good.
That's a very funny scene in the trailer where you see him kind of like cut this clandestine deal, and Bush is too dim-witted to be able to figure out exactly what's going on.
He's like, yeah, okay, sure.
But it features what's supposed to be a very solid performance by Christian Bale as Dick Cheney, who in the previews looks exactly like him.
He really does.
It's uncanny how much
he put on a lot of weight for this role.
And Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush, and Amy Adams as Lynn Cheney, and Steve Carell as Donald Rumsfeld. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It opens on Christmas Day.
Steve Carell's having a hell of a year too, man.
He really is.
Wow. Yeah, and Sam Rockwell did so well last year with, three
billboards.
Yeah, it was so awesome. And of course, Amy Adams, who doesn't love her?
Oh, exactly.
All right.
Okay.
So this is the cool one too. I saw the previews for this. If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yes, this is one that's been getting promoted for a number of months now. If Beale Street Could Talk is a film that's based on a novel by James Baldwin, and it's the latest film from director Barry Jenkins, who won the Oscar for Moonlight a couple years ago as Best Picture. I'm really looking forward to seeing this because I really like Barry Jenkins' work a lot. And he's very good at creating mood and atmosphere, but also telling a really good story in the process of it. This is a film that's also generating a lot of buzz for Regina King for her supporting performance. She's picked up a couple of acting award nominations so far. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. This one, I believe, is going to be opening up next weekend, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself too. And I you know what? Okay, I got to tell you, the next one you're going to talk about is Mary Poppins Returns, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think that Emily Blunt is going to be fantastic.
Well, you know, I'm let's put it this way: I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Okay.
I mean, one of the one of the cardinal rules in filmmaking is don't remake the classics or don't do sequels of the classics. And you know, Mary Poppins was such an iconic picture in so many ways, and it's taken so many years before they've even come close to putting out another picture in the so-called franchise of it, that I just have to kind of cross my fingers and hope.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. That here's my thoughts on this. My kids don't remember Mary Poppins. They don't know Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins was my generation. I grew up with Mary Poppins.
Yes.
So you know, that's 30 years removed from my kids.
Yes.
Right. So coming out now to a whole new generation that is all fresh for, you know, more than half the generation. Anybody under 50, it's new for you, pretty much. And so I can see that. And I heard that Lin-Manuel Miranda already won awards for his part in this movie, is picking up stuff, and Emily Blunt's supposed to be fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, I can't picture anybody other than Emily Blunt successfully pulling off a role like this. I mean, I thought it was a great casting choice. And the movie's got like the star-studded cast of people.
Oh my God!
You know, Lin-Manuel Miranda and
from Hamilton.
And Dick Van Dyke is making a Pre's appearance, so cool. And
Meryl
Streep is in it. So
love it.
So I'm really hoping that it lives up to a type.
I think it will,
and that they don't let viewers down in terms of you know, carrying the torch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've heard Emily sing, but I'm sure she's fantastic. I mean, Julie Andrews is iconic, and you know, you can't. But she's you know, Mary Poppins to the kids of those kids. So I'm kind of right, I guess, in that it skips a generation and it's for a whole new generation, right? To the Banks children. All right, Bow to No One. This one is really good. I can't wait.
So now we come to Mary Queen of Scots.
Look at Margot's face.
In many ways, this is, I believe it's. I don't know if it's exactly a remake, but I mean, it's very much the same sort of story that was told years ago in another version of this story featuring Vanessa Redgrave and Glenda Jackson. This time we have Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie, and I can't think of two actresses better qualified to play these two roles. It basically tells a story of a friendship that turned into a rivalry that, you know, changed the course of English history.
Well, they were cousins.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a sad story, really.
Now, the thing that I find kind of interesting with this is the studios and distributors have been pushing this film for months. I mean, I in the one of the theaters I go to here in Chicago, they had posters up and they were playing trailers for this film since July.
Oh, really?
Yes. I mean,
wow. I just saw them like this month.
They've been making a major push with this.
Wow.
And so far, the early reviews that have come in have been sort of tepid. And it really has not picked up a whole lot of attention in the awards competitions. A few things here and there. Margot Robbie, for example, did pick up an acting nomination.
She's the Queen of England, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But I think there were high hopes that this was going to be, you know, one of these grand sweeping epics that everybody was going to be talking about, and that was going to be
that Rachel Weisz would have been.
Yeah. So I'm reserving judgment till I see it, but like I say, it's it's a little bit on the underperforming side at this point. So
Okay.
just throw that out as a caveat to anybody who's thinking about going to see it. But the trailer, definitely looks beautiful in
It
terms of its,
does.
costumes and sets, and
I'm sure it'll pick up
uh,
awards for that, if
yeah,
nothing
and in
else.
terms of the also in terms of the chemistry between the two cousins,
Hmm.
is really pretty dynamic. So I'm hoping that really lives up to it when you see the full length film.
And just remember that we're previewing these. Brent hasn't seen these, and I haven't seen these movies. However, you can join us in February because we always do Oscars. So you can join us and bet with us and figure out who's going to win, and then we'll come back and we'll review that too. So you want to see these movies if you want to play the game. Okay, let's go on. Ben is back. Now they've
Ben
been
is
previewing
back.
this quite a bit.
Yeah, this one is a story of a teenager who goes through rehab and returns to his family for the holidays. And unfortunately, he kind of brings along some baggage with him, not so much about himself personally, but about related to the people he had been associating with before he went into rehab. So you have Lucas Hedges starring as a troubled teen who's trying to get his life back together, but is sort of being haunted by his past. And it's beginning to have influence on not just him, but also on his family, including his mom, played by Julia Roberts.
And his siblings don't want him around. Like he shows up and Ben's back, and the only one happy is mom.
Yeah.
Seems like, right?
Now it's kind of interesting in the fact that I've heard a number of people sort of they've been trying to compare this to Beautiful Boy, the movie that came out a couple of months ago with Timothée Chalamet and Steve Carell. To me though, based on at least what I've seen from the previews of this and having seen Beautiful Boy, the only real nexus of comparison I can see is that while you're dealing with drug addicted teens in both pictures, that's about it. I mean, there seem to be very different stories. So
yeah,
I don't know if this is getting sort of shortchanged because of its subject matter and because it's coming out relatively close to another film that has somewhat similar circumstances in it, but again, it seems to be a very different kind of story. So looks interesting though.
Yeah. Okay. This one is
Vox Lux.
Vox.
Now this is a movie which unfortunately I can't really tell you a whole lot about because I haven't been able to find out a whole lot about it. It's a movie starring Natalie Portman and Jude Law.
Wow.
About a pop star who manages to become like a huge success in the wake of unusual circumstances, including some tragic events.
She actually kind of looks like Boy George here to me in this poster. I don't know or Adam Lambert, one or the other. Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, I went to see I watched the trailer, and it's rather cryptic in terms of giving you an idea of what this movie is about.
Yeah.
And I've gone to a number of the movie sites to try and read up about it, and they don't really have a whole lot to offer. So I know it's a movie that has been getting promoted pretty extensively over the past few months.
Well, look at the stars. I mean, Natalie Portman, I must say I probably liked her in everything she's done. And she is a bit of a chameleon herself. Black Swan was maybe the only one that was kind of a little bit, but I mean, she pulled it off. And so I can imagine that she's a very, very talented girl. And if you can do a Thor and go back and do Vox Lux, I guess.
Well, it's interesting also in the fact that when they first started promoting this film, they were even going so far as to say that they thought that Natalie Portman might give Lady Gaga a run for her money for her performance in The Star Is Born.
Really?
I haven't heard that so much lately, but that was something that came out.
Star Was Born was phenomenal. So
yeah, when this movie first started getting to start making the rounds, they were saying like, oh, well, if you like Lady Gaga and A Star Is Born, you'll love Rachel Portman and Vox Lux.
And I'm just seeing here, original songs all by Sia. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because she's great.
So this one, you're kind of on your own with this one because unfortunately I can't really tell you a whole lot more about that than what I've already told you.
Well, we might be starting to see the trailers in the theaters soon. This one I'm looking forward to so much.
Okay, this one looks really unusual.
Really unusual, but really cool.
Yeah, it's the latest film from Robert Zemeckis, who's been known for Forrest Gump and Romancing the Stone and a whole bunch of other movies, called Welcome to Marwen. Tells a story of a military illustrator played by Steve Carell, who is viciously attacked and leaves him memory impaired in terms of being able to recall what happened in his life. And he tries to restore it by building this model of a place called Marwen that is populated by these rather fierce but heroic women who are trying to carry out their own little missions and also help him at the same time.
They kind of protect him, and they're his friend, and he's got a whole world that he can go into that feels safe. Where he's safe because he was viciously attacked, as you said, and he's scared.
So I'm sort of the jury's out for me on this one because I haven't been able to see much more about it other than the trailer, and I had the reaction when I saw it. I said, this is either going to be really good or it's going to really suck. But
Steve Carell's so good. I can't imagine it sucking. And Leslie Mann and what's her name from
Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe, and I think it's gonna be good.
And I mean, I really do like Robert Zemeckis as a director too. So I'm hoping that that this turns out to be, a good offering. So.
All right, let's go back. I just came out of there for a second. Oops. Let me share the next one with you. This is going to be really interesting because I got to tell you, I love all Clint Eastwood movies.
Yeah, this one
directed Clint Eastwood movies.
Yeah, this one looks very interesting. It's called The Mule, and it tells a story of an aging horticulturist who suddenly finds himself in the possession of a huge stash of drugs. I get the impression he doesn't quite know how they got there. And he's trying to, make the most of the situation, either in terms of keeping himself out of trouble, but also kind of maximizing whatever benefit he can get for him out of himself. Unfortunately, he ends up running into, involvement with FBI agents and some rather unsavory characters and so forth. So it looks like it's a very interesting combination of characters and interesting roles. And also, based on what I saw from the trailer, it seems to portray Eastwood in a much more vulnerable kind of role than he typically takes on. So I'll be interested to see how that ultimately plays out on the screen.
And, I really thought that the last movie he did would be the last movie he did.
Yeah.
I think it really just shows you that as you age, when you stay connected and you stay, interested in people and doing things, that you stay alive. And, Eastwood has only gotten better. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Dirty Harry, or the spaghetti westerns, but the movies that he's made after, in his later years, absolutely love it. Love where he's going, his sense of social justice and consciousness and all of that. I just think I love it. Starting with $1 Million Baby.
And he seemed, for a while there, I mean, after he made Gran Torino, which he said was going to be
loved Gran Torino
performance, he seemed to be pretty content to want to just be a director. And the fact that he's come back for this role is kind of an interesting choice in terms of his own casting, but also in terms of his own career, in terms of what he wants to do. So, but the one thing that I find very interesting here also is that he's surrounded himself with a pretty strong supporting cast, including people like Diane Wiest.
Oh, I like her.
Lawrence Fishburne, Bradley Cooper, Michael Pena.
Oh,
I mean,
all great people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really pretty solid cast that he's working with. So I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing this, and seeing what they do with it and how the story plays out.
I really like Lawrence Fishburne. He's always been one of my favorite actors. And Michael Pena's really grown. I mean, he used to be the sidekick cop. But now, woo, yeah. I really, really like him a lot. All right, that's one to, it's going to come out on the 14th of December?
Yeah.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's see if it does. I can't wait. What movie will we see this weekend? Oh my goodness. There's so many to choose from. Okay, this one I'm really kind of looking forward to too. It looks kind of really interesting with Felicity Jones.
Yes, this is called On the Basis of Sex, which is basically a docudrama detailing the case that really launched the career of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Not when she was a judge, when she was still an attorney, when she was arguing about the elimination of sex discrimination before the Supreme Court. And it was an interesting choice in the fact that it was a case where the discrimination was being leveled against the man and not against the woman. But the fact that he was being represented by a woman was seen as opening the door to eliminating a lot of the laws that were on the books that legally allowed discrimination against women to exist. So this was
an interesting choice too, because I mean, RBG came out earlier this year as a documentary, and now you're seeing kind of the preview or the pre-Q or whatever you want to call it,
exactly.
Prequel, to how that documentary and why that documentary.
Because they focused on that case in RBG quite a bit, and it really was like the turning point in her career. And now this movie is designed to show what she did to not only launch her own career, but also to launch this initiative that has since become, essential and crucial to the kind of judicial views and opinions that she's held ever since.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Pretty cool lady. All right. Let me go back and share again. Felicity Jones. Quite away from Star Trek. Okay. Let's see. Oh, now this is one I'm not really, I don't really know why, because I can't stand these two. Like, what the heck? But okay, Stan and Ollie.
Stan and Ollie. This is the backstory behind the rise of this comedy duo, and how they became so famous. But it also details, I guess, a lot of the behind the scenes issues that the two of them had in dealing with each other, which I guess was not always the easiest relationship to get along with. Stars Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly in the lead roles. John C. Reilly has picked up a Golden Globe nomination for his performance for Best Actor in a Comedy for this movie. It looks pretty interesting, in terms of shedding light on.
They really look like them too.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, but in terms of shedding light on characters whose life off the screen you don't really typically know very much about, from everything I've seen, this does a good job of, sort of filling in the blanks. So.
Well, it was interesting because I was watching I wasn't, but Danny was watching Pawn Stars, and somebody had brought in a movie poster that was signed by both of them, and he expected to get like a whole lot of money, and they're like, well, nobody really knows who they are anymore.
Yeah,
well, they're gonna know who they are now.
Yeah. This one comes out, I believe, right before the end of the month. So this is probably the latest of the releases in this group.
This one I'm really looking forward to.
Yes, this one, I don't really know a whole lot about this one, but it basically tells a story, Head Full of Honey, tells the story of a senior who is beginning to run into Alzheimer's, and he knows that he's running into it, and he's doing everything he can to try and hold on to his memories that he can, particularly when it comes to recollections of his wife. And he's able to do that by sort of reliving some of the memories that he had in terms of when they met and so forth, taking a trip to Venice where they first met each other and so on. It's a movie that has been sort of, from everything I've seen so far, it's been very divisive when it comes to critics and audiences. Audiences apparently have really liked it. Critics have hated it.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I guess it's one of these things where you're going to have to decide for yourself. Goodness knows there have been more than enough times over the course of this year and many other years where critics and audiences have not agreed on things.
Just look at Rotten Tomatoes. You'll see a big difference between the
Yeah.
critics and the audience. I mean, I think people might go, especially to see his daughter, Sophie
Yes.
Lane Nolte, act with him. I mean, in the movie, he's her grandfather, but it is his 11-year-old daughter acting
Yes.
with him, which is kind of cool. And you know what? When I was watching the trailer, if you listen, she has that raspy voice that her grandfather, that her dad has. She really does. It's kind of cool. I guess it's a family trait.
Well, and also the fact that I guess his son's character in this movie is played by Matt Dillon, and
Yeah.
he's an actor who I really like, and I never seem to. He doesn't seem to be working as much as he did at one time, and I've always really liked what he's done. So I'm kind of, I'm glad to see him have a big screen role here. So,
yeah, Matt's somebody who really knows how to share emotion. He's not afraid to really let those things be seen, and I think he does a good role from what I've seen anyway. Like, he's going to do a great job as the son.
So there's our lineup for what's out and what's coming out, and what to see, what not to see, or what you need to
no excuses
with.
No excuses. I mean, I was looking last weekend. We were looking at the movies, and there was nothing to go and see. Pretty much had seen it all, unless you wanted to go see Grinch. And it's funny how they'll put so many of one movie in the theaters, and then there's all these great movies that you can't find.
Yes.
Especially, I mean, I live just outside of Toronto. I'd have to go to Toronto proper if I wanted to see half of these, which is unfortunate, because you know what? They're really good movies, and there's no reason why they can't be everywhere. And at least show them for a little bit. Movie houses, show them. Give people the benefit of the doubt that we have a brain, and that we're interested in things that aren't just formulaic Hollywood, or that you think are going to drive everything, because you have no idea. People really want something different now. We want a movie that doesn't follow the Hollywood script.
I agree.
Really.
Well, and the other thing too that's always a little bit frustrating at this time of year is a lot of studios and distributors kind of pack their movies really close together on their release dates. And I mean, you can only go to see so many movies in one weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of times. And I, like you said, last weekend there was virtually nothing opening, and then this weekend there's like 5 things coming out.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I mean, I guess that will be my weekend then. So.
Yeah, it'll be your weekend. Yeah, and wouldn't it be great if somebody actually paid you to go and watch it?
Yeah, the only thing that came out last weekend was Roma, and one thing I should add about that, if you really do want to risk watching it, it is also available on Netflix.
Yeah.
So
what do you think of Rotten Tomatoes? We have never discussed it really, but I'll go to Rotten Tomatoes to see what they say. And if I've seen the movie and I agree with them, I go, okay, yeah, that was pretty good. But sometimes like the audience knows more.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and actually, when it comes to the movie review sites, the one that I put a little more trust in is Metacritic.
Okay.
They have, I guess you would say, a smaller pool of
never even heard about Metacritic
working there, but the ones whose reviews that they amass seem to give, at least for me, a more accurate representation of what the film is about, how good it is, and so forth.
But of course, you guys who follow FrankieSense and more, you don't have to do that, because you've got Brent. Brent has reviewed all of these films. You go to the Good Radio Network site, or goodradionetwork.com site. He's got his blog there. He's reviewed them all in depth. Movies that we didn't discuss today from a month ago or 2 months ago that are still playing around. If you want, maybe you want to get them on Netflix or download them from Amazon or someplace like that. Check them out. Read about these movies that weren't just the big blockbuster Hollywood blockbusters, but were phenomenal, just movies, just really good stories that you might want to know about. I mean, I often go back to your blog, Brent, and go, oh yeah, we talked about that. That sounds like a great movie. Maybe I can find it and see if I can't find it and watch it when I want something else.
Well, three of the movies we talked about today are on the current blog on the Good Radio Network website for Green Book, At Eternity's Gate, and The Front Runner. So if
Awesome.
you want more details about those films, check out the blog. You can read all about them.
And don't forget, right there, do the happy face, the big wow face. Please, please, please help us out. And don't forget to go to iTunes and please give us a good review. Mark us for 5 stars. FrankieSense or Mission Unstoppable, doesn't matter. Just help us out. Thanks so much. Have yourself a very happy holiday, safe and happy holiday. If you celebrate Christmas or Diwali or Kwanzaa or whatever it is that's coming up for you. We wish you that whatever it is, it's fun and it's fantastic, and Santa's good to you if you believe in Santa. And Brent, I hope Santa brings you a movie camera for you.
Well, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you too there, Frankie.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you and Bear. Take care. Bye, everybody. Oh, I should say goodbye, Facebook. We'll come off of Facebook and we'll stop.